When people talk about regionalism today, what are they talking about? For the most part, they're discussing the idea of what happened in the 60s. They want to go back to the 60s. First, let me say this. It happens in religion, it happens in culture, it happens in politics. If you see a group of people who are so enamored about the past, in many instances, they haven't studied that past. We have this interesting nostalgia for a past we've never experienced. And if you did not experience that past, what you should do is study what happened. The structure we had in the 50s and the 60s, they were not the ideal structures. We look back now and say they were great because we compare them to what we have. But I said it some time ago that if you really want to discuss the greatness of a thing, it doesn't have to be based on its comparison with something else. Right? If something is great, it's just great. Right? It's great based on its merit. It's great based on what its function, its purpose. It's great because of that. It's not great because it's better than something. I mean, if that's the point, we'll be saying greater, right? So the greatness of a thing is not predicated upon the comparison of that thing to something else. I'm saying that regionalism is not great because it's better than what we have. Regionalism is great because the concept itself makes sense. The purpose makes sense. The idea, apt system that we could have in a multi-ethnic group like Nigeria, multi-ethnic nation like Nigeria. So the question is, what is regionalism? Regionalism is not necessarily what we had from 54 to 66. That's a form of regionalism, but it doesn't mean that is regionalism. So the problem with definition sometimes is this. We have an example, and then we use the example as the definition, not knowing that example is just a type. What is the yardstick to reach the conclusion of greatest? So don't use greater, just say greatness. The yardstick, so for instance, Awolowo is great. Awolowo's greatness is not dependent on the comparison of Awolowo to anybody. You don't have to compare Awolowo. Did they do it in the east? Did they do it in the north? No. The fact that he did it in the west, in Yoruba land, is enough. So comparison doesn't even come into play. There's a scripture. Again, I'm a Christian, so I like to use the Bible a lot. It says that those who compare themselves with themselves are not wise. Comparison in most cases is a sign of inferiority complex. If a person cannot talk about their greatness without comparing themselves with something else, they have inferiority complex. But the greatness of a thing is discussed based on the attributes of that thing, the function of that thing, the merit of that thing. When you look at that stuff on its own, then you're like, okay, looks like a great idea. And then we can now have comparison later if we need to. And this is where I'm going. And I'll use Awo again. Awo gave us the first TV station on the continent of Africa. No, being the first is not a yardstick. I'm going somewhere, Django. He built stadium. He built a world-class stadium, built skyscraper, built a university, used what he had to create something that his people needed. And that's why he is great. It's not because what he did was the first. It was because he saw that we needed it and he provided it. He made it available. Right? He gave us free education. Thank you, Solo 28. Gave us free education, free healthcare. The greatness of Awo is not seen in his Let me tell you something. Excuse me. In reality, right, sincerely, there is nobody in Nigerian political space that is comparable to Chief Awolowo. None. All these words and opposite that we are doing it's a disrespect to his memory. When I say Awo did this, what did that other person do? It's disrespectful because no other person compares. It's the same thing with the idea of regionalism. What makes regionalism great is what it represents. The first thing it represents is federalism. It's a form of federalism in itself. Regionalism is a form of federalism where different people can govern themselves the way they want, but then we are all together at the center, right? Or we still have a central government. The person who came up with the idea of federalism in Nigeria, what was his plan? What was his vision? And I'll say this, there's no other person in this country called Nigeria that has that has a better view of federalism than Awo. And it's not because it's Yoruba, it's just because it was his idea, as far as Nigeria is concerned. The other guys had different ideas of what they wanted, but he was consistent. And that's why, maybe that's also one of the negatives, because once you hold on to an idea or an ideology, you might not see other things. But then the beautiful thing about it is that he was the one who championed that concept in Nigeria. So what did he mean when he was saying it? If we go out of what he meant when he said it, and we just keep saying, oh, one regionalism, then the question is that what do we want?